Hello friends, so how are you doing? And I hope you really are having a great and fun time, balanced with your studies, and you're doing a great job. I have so much of confidence in you, and so you should have it in yourself, right? We were discussing about the CBSE 2018 question paper, sample paper, and that is the 12th biology. We've already seen section A and section B, which were short answers. Now we are going to section C, in which questions 11 to 22 we'll discuss one by one, and we'll see how what are the logics behind it and to how to write the question. So the question 11, state the process of biogas production. So this is mainly asking how the biogas is going to be produced, how the biogas is going to be produced. Now we will see first of all what is a biogas. See, I will explain you the whole thing, right, starting from the logic and what is a biogas, how is it produced, what it can be used for and all those things. But you understand this, but when you are writing, since this is a short answer again, 3 marks, you have to stick to the topic, right. So the answer we will write as, first of all, forget about what is the question and let us understand what is a biogas. Biogas is a gas mixture, consisting of gases like methane, okay, of gases like methane, that is CH4, right. Then it will contain hydrogen sulfide, okay, hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide and other etc. So this biogas is a mixture of these gases, methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, even moisture can be present, and definitely other gases like SO2 and others may be present in small amount, small content. So first of all, we know what is a biogas. Yes, a biogas is a mixture consisting of methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide and these gases. CO2 may also be there. Now we will see that why what a biogas can be used for. A biogas, what happens, a biogas will contain these elements, these gases mixture, and they can be combustible. They can burn in the presence of oxygen and they will release energy, right. These biogases can burn in the presence of oxygen, they are combustible in the presence of oxygen, and these will release energy. And when they release energy, this energy can be used in the form of cooking, this energy can be used for other things. Just like how the natural gas can be compressed in the form of CNG, the compressed natural gas, these biogases can also be compressed and can be used for other utility works, okay. So we will now see how a biogas is manufactured in the biogas unit. The biogas unit consists of a tank, okay, which is about 10 to 15 meter, deep. Right. So the biogas unit consists of a tank which is about 10 to 15 meter deep. Now in this tank what is added? A slurry of bio waste. For example, any bio waste, degradable waste like cow dung or the animal dung can be added, okay, to this tank. To this tank a slurry of bio waste, okay, a slurry of bio waste like animal dung, cow dung, etc. is added. Okay? Getting it? So there is a tank which is about 15 to 16, 10 to 15 meter, 15, 16 can be general, is a general height or the depth. Generally we say 10 to 15 meter deep, and to this depth of the tank we add what? We add a slurry of bio waste. Okay, a slurry of bio waste like the animal dung, the cow dung, etc. is added to this tank. Then what will we see? We have already added the biodegradable material. Now what? We need to add, since we know that this contains methane mainly, so we add now methanogens. Methanogens are a group of bacteria which will act on this biodegradable, biodegradable substances and produce methane. So the fermentation, fermentation, and we all know what is fermentation. Fermentation is the anaerobic oxidation without the presence of oxygen. So what is happening here? With the help of methanogens, we are carrying out the anaerobic what? The anaerobic fermentation or anaerobic oxidation, and hence these methanogens will ferment these and help in the production of gases. Okay, so I'll write this as methanogens are added to this slurry of bio waste okay. So methanogens are added to this slurry of bio waste which brings about fermentation okay, which brings about fermentation. Also, to this tank a floating top cover is added. Okay, so as the the level of the methane which is being produced rises, the floating top cover also rises, and we place pipelines over here. We place pipelines to collect these methane gases or the biogas, right? So I can write this as floating top cover placed above the tank, floating top cover placed above the tank, which moves, which rises, which is rising with the rising level of the biogas, which rises with rising level of biogas. Right. So floating top cover placed above the tank which rises with the rising level of the biogas, and then what else we see? We see that the pipelines are added. So I'm writing the third point here itself. Pipelines are added to the tank. Pipelines are added to the tank, okay, for the collection of these biogas. Okay. So once again, let us sum up the whole thing. Let us sum up the whole thing. We'll sum up, we'll simply draw an arbitrary diagram to see this. Biogas we know is a collection of methane, okay, is a collection of methane and hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, moisture, etc. Okay, what we do here, we take a tank which is about 15 to 16 meter deep, and to this tank we add what? The biodegradable slurry of bio waste. For example, the cow dung, the animal dung, anything, and then we add the methanogens, okay. This methanogen will ferment the biodegradable material, okay. As a result of this, what will happen? Methane gas and other gases will be produced. There is a floating top cover. As as the level of the methane and other gases rises, this will be also pushed above, and there are pipelines added to this from where we collect the gases. This is just an arbitrary diagram to make you understand, what actually exists is something very, very different. So got it? I hope this is clear to you. Okay, then we will move on to the next question. Indian government had taken several measures to control the vehicular air pollution in Delhi and other cities of India. Enlist any three of them. Yes. They say that there has been a lot of pollution in Delhi. And the Indian government, has went, has taken many measures, to restrict the pollution level in Delhi. What are the measures? We will see. The measures to control pollution in Delhi will be pollution in Delhi. Okay, so what are the measures to control the pollution in Delhi? The first one we can say is, reduce the use or restrict the use of the fossil fuels. Okay, restrict the use of fossil fuels. Okay, restrict the use of fossil fuels. The second one, use of the catalytic converter. Okay, use of the catalytic converter in the automobiles has also brought down the vehicular air pollution to a great extent. So the second one I'll write is as use of catalytic converter use of catalytic converter in automobiles. The next one which we can write is the use of electrostatic precipitators. What? The use of electrostatic precipitators. Okay, and the fourth one, enabling the planting of trees. Enabling the planting of trees. Okay, enabling the planting of trees. Right? So these can be measures. They have written, enlist any three of them. Okay, I've written four. Let us see this. Restrict the use of fossil fuels. These fossil fuels are also responsible for creating pollution in the air. Use of catalytic converter in the automobile. Now see, what is the use of catalytic converter? When you read this, you'll read in this, you must have read this in detail, or if you haven't, what this catalytic converter does. The catalytic converters are basically of two types. There it is a two-way catalytic converter and one is a three-way catalytic converter. Now this catalytic converter, what they do, they see basically why automobiles are why automobiles are creating pollution, because the hydrocarbon is not burnt completely, right? The hydrocarbon is not burnt completely, and because the hydrocarbons are not burnt completely, so sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide and such gases will be produced in the air. So what we need to do, we need to convert these very harmful gases into less harmful gases, very harmful gases into less harmful gases, and this is what exactly the catalytic converter do. Why call as it catalytic? Because they have catalyst like palladium or platinum, and with the help of these catalysts like palladium or platinum, what they do is they will convert the more toxic gases into the less harmful gases. For example, if carbon monoxide is produced, what they will do, they will oxidize that carbon monoxide and produce carbon dioxide. Definitely carbon dioxide is less toxic than carbon monoxide, right? So hence these are also bringing down the pollution. Got it? After that, the use of electrostatic precipitators. These electrostatic precipitators are mainly used in the chimneys of industries and big plants where the material particles, the material particulate matter, where the particulate matter is produced, which is again highly toxic, right? This removes that particulate matter and converts into a less toxic substance. Got it? Fourth one, enabling the planting of trees. Definitely the more you plant trees, the more beautiful the environment will be, the more safer the environment will be, because these plants they take in carbon dioxide, which is again a harmful gas, and give out oxygen, which is what we require for our respiration, which cleans the environment and which purifies the environment. So the Delhi government has gone a long way in ensuring and enabling in ensuring to make this Delhi, the capital of India, a more safer place for you to live in. So stop criticizing about the government every time, give it a handshake, give it a hands up and say, oh good, you have done something better for us, and let us take this vow and help keeping our capital of India clean and green. Okay, so with this we end this question here, and now we'll move on to the next question. Any guesses? What can the next question be? Yes, industrial melanism and Darwin's theory of natural selection go hand in hand. Justify. First of all, we have to see and understand what really do we mean by industrial melanism and Darwin's theory of natural selection. Why do they, to which context of the part, we can apply them, and what do they really mean? So let us first see industrial melanism. See, the word industrial melanism, see, this is basically of an evolutionary concept. An evolutionary concept which has been applied to the arthropods. What is happening here basically, with more advancement, with more industrialization, with more factories coming in, yes, with more advancement in industrialization, the environment has become more polluted. The environment has become more polluted. So as a result of this, the melanism basically means melanin, more of pigmentation, darker, and darker pigmentation related to industries. What does this mean? This means, as I told you just now, that with more of industrialization, what is happening, there are more impurities in the environment. There are more impurities in the environment, and hence, some of these arthropods, what they do, they become darker in color. That is, the melanin pigmentation increases. So since they are becoming darker in color, it is helping them to camouflage with the environment. Okay, camouflage is to take the support of the environment, and thus it is helping them to to avoid the prey. For example, say an elephant, and I mean this is a very unrealistic example, but still that is the only thing I can explain you with. Suppose a lion comes here to eat me, and suppose this is green, I take the green color and I stay stationary, and the lion may not be able to recognize me. Why? Because I have I have camouflaged with the board. The board being green in color, I am also green in color. I have camouflaged with the board, and I am not moving. The lion will come and think nothing is there, and hence it will not act on me on the prey and will go. I told you it's a real a little unrealistic, but I think you got the point what I am trying to say. So similarly, some of the arthropods, they increased their body color, the melanin pigmentation increased. Why? So as so as to match with the polluted environment. Before the environment was clean, so these animals were also were having lesser pigmentation. As the environment got more polluted, as the environment got more polluted, they also started increasing their melanin pigmentation to camouflage and avoid the prey. So we can write this as industrial melanism is an evolutionary concept. An evolutionary concept okay, it's an evolutionary concept which is applied to the arthropods. So as a result of this, hence the moths have increased their pigmentation, have increased their pigmentation, okay, that is melanism, okay. Hence the moths have increased their pigmentation, that is melanism, okay, that is melanism, to camouflage with the polluted environment, with the polluted environment, which is also dark, which also has become dark, okay, which also has become dark, and we see hence nature has there is the natural selection, nature has selected this change, and there is natural selection to survive so that there can be survival of the fittest. Hence natural selection of this trait for survival of fittest. Got it? Now we will see what? Darwin's theory of natural selection. Darwin's theory of natural selection, what does it say? The Darwin's theory of natural selection says that organisms which are reproductively fit, okay, that organisms which are reproductively fit that organisms which are reproductively fit. Are selected, natural selection, are selected naturally by the environment. Okay, did you get this? So the Darwin's theory of natural selection says that organisms which are reproductively fit, are selected naturally by the environment. Okay, are selected naturally by the environment. So what does this mean? So we now know two things. One, industrial melanism. What was happening there? The arthropods, for example, the moths, they were increasing their color, they were getting darker so as to camouflage with the environment which had become polluted due to industrial revolution. This particular trait or character was picked up by nature, selected by nature, and hence these organisms continued to survive because they were the fittest. There was the natural selection, and again over here, according to Darwin theory, it says that those organisms who are reproductively fit will survive and carry on the progeny, and the others won't survive. So again here there is natural selection, survival of the fittest, and hence both go hand to hand. That is, there will be the selection by the nature of the fittest animal, of the animal which has adjusted to the environment, and only those things will be picked up by nature by the natural selection. Got it? Great. Now we move on to the next question. What is the difference between the endometrium and the myometrium? What is the difference between the endometrium and the myometrium? First of all, we will see that these layers, the endometrium, the myometrium, the perimetrium, are the layers of the uterus, of the human uterus, the female uterus. So I'll write here as the uterus in a female has 3 layers. Outermost will be the perimetrium. Outermost will be the perimetrium. The middle one will be the myometrium. Okay, middle layer will be the myometrium, and the innermost is the endometrium. Okay. So the uterus in a female has 3 layers, and what are these 3 layers? The outermost is the perimetrium, the middle is the myometrium, and the innermost is the endometrium. No need to write all this in 3 marker, it's just for your sake I am writing it. We will see now the main thing. Let us talk about the endometrium and the myometrium. Okay. Let us see the first difference. We have already said that the endometrium is the innermost layer of the uterus. So we will write this as, this is the innermost layer of the uterus. The innermost layer of the uterus. and this, for this we will write as that this is the middle layer of the uterus. This is the middle layer of the uterus. Okay, got it? This is the middle layer of the uterus and this is the innermost layer of the uterus. The second thing, the endometrium is a rich glandular layer. Okay, it contains of glands, so it is a glandular layer. It is a glandular layer, and here we will write that it is a thick muscular layer. Okay, it is a thick muscular layer. Okay, so clear? Endometrium is a glandular layer and the myometrium is a thick muscular layer. What else? The endometrium, you know, it sheds off during the menstrual cycle. Okay, this sheds off during the menstrual cycle in females, and also it is that this layer where the, you know, where the blastocyst stage of the zygote gets implanted. You remember the first question we talked about, that after ovulation, after say about 9 days, we said 5 to 8 days is a range, but actually it takes place after 9 days. The you know, the blastocyst stage of the zygotes get implanted. So it is in this layer, in the endometrium layer, the blastocyst stage of the zygotes implanted. Myometrium is basically involved in the uterine wall movements. Okay, so the third difference I'll write here. This layer is shed off in periodic cycle, in the periodic cycle of menstruation, in the periodic cycle of menstruation. Right? And also we see the next point, that this layer, you know, it houses the blastocyst stage of the zygote. The blastocyst stage of zygote gets implanted in this layer, gets implanted, okay, in this layer. Very, very important. And what do we see here? This layer, that is the myometrium, it is basically, it is involved in uterine movements. Okay, so the myometrium is involved in uterine movements and the endometrium layer is shut off in periodic cycle of menstruation. The blastocyst stage of zygote gets implanted in this layer. You will have to add on, you know, this will basically the third, fourth and the third point. The other points you have to add on. So friends, I hope you know this is clear to you. All this till 14 question. Now probably, you know, we can take a break and then continue with the questions. Okay, all these questions in the next session. Thank you. Okay friends, so I hope you must have noted down. Okay, so we were discussing the questions and we have already done with the 14th question, that is what is the difference between an endometrium and a myometrium, and now we'll move on to the next question, amoebiasis. So the 15th question says amoebiasis is often caused by an intestinal parasite, yes, which being found in the large intestine of human beings. Give the name of the organism responsible for this, okay, and also write the symptoms and mode of transmission responsible for the disease. So this question has basically three parts. First it is giving the information. What is the information? That amoebiasis, which is also called as amoebic dysentery, okay, what happens? Had instead of amoebiasis, had they given amoebic dysentery, then it would have been very easy. Okay, dysentery is something in which we pass out stools, and here, okay, and maybe the stools may have mucus as well as blood, but they have given amoebiasis. If you know the other name also, the next one part of the question becomes very simple. You can take it from the word itself. See, biology, as you all know, they from the word itself, we get so many facts. So let us read the question once again, friends. Amoebiasis is often caused by an intestinal parasite, yes, which being found in the large intestine of human beings. Give the name of the organism responsible for this. This is the first question. This is the first question. Also write the symptoms. This is the second question, and the mode of transmission is the third part of the question. So as we all know, this is a very small, short note question of 3 marks. This again, and since it has 3 parts, again we are going to answer in very short. But I'm going to explain you in detail so that you know the little in and out of it, and you don't know only to the point, because when you have something in conceptual, that will last in your brain for long. So the answer, we'll write it as the name of the organism which stays in large intestine okay, the organism which stays in large intestine of human beings okay. So the organism which stays in large intestine of human beings is what? Is Entamoeba histolytica, is Entamoeba histolytica, and it is this organism which is causing the disease called the amoebiasis, also called as the amoebic dysentery, okay, is Entamoeba histolytica, which causes the disease amoebic dysentery, they have not mentioned here, or amoebiasis. So both are these names of the disease. Got it? The organism which stays in the large intestine of human beings and causes amoebic dysentery or amoebiasis is none other than Entamoeba histolytica. So the moment you have written this, you have got 1 number. Now let us come to the second part of the question. The second part of the question says, also write the symptoms and mode of transmission. Okay, this is the third. The symptoms is the second part of the question. Now we already know this is a dysentery. So what will be the symptoms? The symptoms will be that the patient or the person afflicted from this disease will be having dysentery, loose stools, and these stools will contain the mucus and the blood. Also, he will have severe abdominal pain. He may also have fever as well as vomiting, right? So these are the symptoms of this disease. So I'll write here as symptoms of amoebic dysentery. Symptoms of amoebic dysentery are what? The symptoms of amoebic dysentery are, first of all, passage of stools, or probably we should say everyone passes stool, so that will become absurd. Passage of loose stools, with blood, passage of loose stools with blood and mucus. Okay, passage of loose stools with blood and mucus. The next point will be abdominal pain with cramps. Okay, abdominal pain, severe abdominal pain okay, severe abdominal pain. Then third one may be accompanied with fever and vomiting. Okay, may be accompanied with fever, may be accompanied with fever and vomiting. Right? So the word amoebic dysentery, also called as amoebiasis, which is caused by Entamoeba histolytica, that will result in dysentery, that will result in loose stools. In that loose stool there will be blood, there will be mucus, okay, and the patient will have severe abdominal pain. He will complain of the abdominal pain and cramps, and the patient may also have fever and vomiting. So simple. So the second part of the question is also done now. Now we are remaining with the third part of the question, that is the mode of transmission responsible for the disease, right? So the third part of the question says mode of transmission of disease. Right, friends? Now the various modes of transmission of disease can be, the first one we will see that the feco-oral route, the orofecal or the feco-oral route, whatever you say, the orofecal route we can say, the orofecal route. Now what is this route? See, when we eat something, we are actually taking it from where? As you all know, our digestive system consists of an alimentary canal, right? So say this is our alimentary canal, right? We have already done that. The alimentary canal, before in the ancient times was what? It was having only one opening, the blind sac plan. But later on, as organisms got evolved, as with more advancement and and with the evolutionary development, we saw that the alimentary canal started having two openings, right? The anterior opening was called as the mouth or the oral cavity you can say. The posterior opening was called as the what? The anus or the anal opening. So this is the oral region and this is what? The anus or the fecal region. So that is why when we eat something we say that matter which we eat, the undigested and the unabsorbed matter passes out through the anus, that is the fecal route. So we say that yes, so we say when we are consuming something from the mouth, we say the orofecal route. That is how we say, that is why we say the orofecal route. And one of the mode of transmission of this disease is the orofecal route. Why orofecal route? Because we know that this disease is caused by the organism Entamoeba histolytica. So that organism can be, can get inside a body by means of contaminated food, by means of contaminated water, by the orofecal route and cause the disease. So you understood what is orofecal route? Very good. So I'll write this as orofecal route by contamination, by contaminated food, water, etc., which will contain the causative organism, which will contain the causative organism. So the orofecal route by contaminated food, water, etc., which will contain the causative organism, that is Entamoeba histolytica. Got it? The second one by the sexual contact, by sexual transmission, okay, by sexual transmission. And the third one by vectors, okay, vectors such as flies, cockroach, etc. Okay? So got it? The three modes of transmission of the disease are: one, the orofecal route. I told you what is orofecal route, how it can take place, because if we ingest, if we take in, if we consume any contaminated food, any contaminated water from outside, that may contain Entamoeba histolytica, and this gets into our digestive system, alimentary canal. When it will reach the large intestine, this will cause the disease. The second one by the sexual transmission, and the third one by vectors such as flies, cockroaches, etc. So friends, we are done with this 15 question, and you will tell that such a big question for 3 mark, actually you can write in just one word. If you properly write the answer, it will be the name of the organism Entamoeba histolytica. Then write the symptoms. It will be again a one word. See, if I write the proper answer, how will it be? The first, Entamoeba histolytica. The second will be what? The symptoms, loose stools, or you can also write diarrhea, okay? Blood and mucus, blood and mucus. Then you can write abdominal pain, fever and vomiting. Okay, fever and vomiting. And the third part of the mode of transmission, I told you orofecal route. Then what I told you, vectors and sexual transmission. So the answer is not so long, it's just that I explained you and wrote in detail. That's why it seemed to be long. This will be your answer, if you write, or you can just if you want to more elaborate it, not elaborate, you can just complete the sentence. The organism is caused by Entamoeba histolytica. The symptoms are loose stools like this. That's it. So let us now discuss the next question. Give reasons for the following. Pollen tablets are used as food supplement. Yes, pollen grains appear in the form of fossils. Very good. Cells of the tapetum have dense cytoplasm and more than one nucleus. Right. Why pollen tablets? Now this is again a 3-marker question. 1 mark probably for each. Not probably, in fact, definitely for each. So what we will see, the answer should be very short. What is the first answer? The pollen tablets are used as food supplements because these pollen tablets are a rich source of nutrient. Okay? Pollen tablets are used as food supplements, as they are rich source of nutrients. Okay? Why the pollen tablets are used as food supplement? Because they are rich source of nutrient, they have nutrients stored in them, and that is why they are used as food supplements. Supplements are something which are given additional. For example, you take vitamin supplements. Why? Because maybe in your day-to-day life you do not know whether you're taking in the required amount, the adequate required amount of vitamins, adequate required amounts of minerals. So what do? You take in supplements. You take in supplements of iron, you take in multivitamin tablets. Similarly, the pollen tablets are also used as food supplements because they have the rich source of nutrients. Got it? So the first part is over. Next, the pollen grains appear in the form of fossils. The pollen grain appear in the form of fossils. We all know, okay, so I'm just little elaborating it. We will not write it this way when you write for the exam. You will just write what I'll tell you right now. So let me explain you. The pollen grain, we all know, is made up of 2 layers, right? Pollen grain is made of 2 layers. The outer exine layer, outer is the exine layer, okay, and the inner is what? The intine layer, the intine layer. The outer the exine layer, the inner the intine layer, okay, this is the inner layer, and the outer exine layer is made up of sporopollenin. Sporopollenin. See, when we talk about the structure of the pollen grain, okay, what is this? We see that the outer layer, this is the exine, okay, the crown type, this is the exine, and this is the intine, okay. So friends, this is the structure of the pollen grain. This is the outer exine layer and this is the inner intine layer. Now what do we see? That the outer exine layer is very tough, it is very hard and ornamented. Okay, you see the ornamentation like a crown. Ornamented, nothing but little, it's not very, a little design type, little, not very designy. So that's why we say ornamented. So it's hard, tough and ornamented. And why it is hard? Because it is made up of a substance called the sporopollenin. Right? The inner layer of the pollen grain is called the intine, which is smooth, which is elastic and thin and flexible. Now what we see, this pollen grain, definitely this is the male gamete. This is the male gamete, the first cell of the male gametophyte. So what we see, that when this pollen grain germinates, what happens, the inner layer, that is the intine, will grow or form the pollen tube. Now since the outer layer is very tough, so the pollen tube cannot grow outside. Hence, for this purpose, at some places we see that the outer layer, that is the exine, is absent. Isn't the exine absent here? Only the intine is present. So from this place, the intine will grow into a pollen tube. And that is why the exine is absent at this place. This place where the exine is absent is called the germ pore. Germ, J-E-R-M, germ pore. Got it? Come back again. We will see what the question is asking, that pollen grains appear in the form of fossil. So the pollen grain, for its safety, for its resistance, the outer layer, okay, the outer layer of pollen grain the outer layer, that is exine of pollen grain, okay, exine of pollen grain is made up of sporopollenin, okay. So the outer layer, that is the exine of pollen grain, is made up of sporopollenin, which is a tough material, which is a tough resistant material, okay, which is a tough resistant material, and hence protects the pollen grain. So pollen grains appear in the form of fossil, and hence makes pollen grain resistant to desiccation, okay, and hence pollen grain appear in form of fossils. So the outer layer, that is the exine of pollen grain, the exine of pollen grain is made up of sporopollenin, which is a tough resistant material, okay, tough resistant material, and hence makes the pollen grain resistant to desiccation. So this sporopollenin present in the exine will make the pollen grain very tough. It will not be it will not be broken, or it will not be acted upon by any other climatic conditions, okay, wind, air, rain, and it will appear in the form of fossils, because it is protected for a long time only because of the presence of this sporopollenin. Got it? I hope you are understood this thing. And now we will do the third part, that is the tapetum part. The cells of the tapetum have dense cytoplasm and more than one nucleus. First of all, where is this tapetum layer present? The wall of the anther has 4 layers. The wall of the anther has 4 layers, and what are these 4 layers? Okay. The wall of anther has 4 layers. Okay. The wall of anther has 4 layers. The outer one is what? The epidermis. The inner one, inner to that means endothecium. Further inner to that are the middle layers, okay? The middle layers, and innermost is the tapetum layer. Tapetum layer, right? This is one layer, this is one layer, this is 1 to 3 layer, and tapetum is also single cell. Sorry, I'm talking in terms of cell. This is 1 cell thick, 1 cell layer thick. Endothecium is also 1 cell layer thick. Middle layer is 1 to 3 cell layer thick, and the tapetum is also 1 cell layer thick. So just a single cell layer will be present in the tapetum. Now what is tapetum? Where is it present? Now we will see that the cells of tapetum has dense cytoplasm. The tapetum function of tapetum, okay, is nutrition. Function of tapetum cells is nutrition, okay, is nutrition, and hence the cells of tapetum okay, have dense cytoplasm, and more than one nucleus, Okay. So function of tapetum cells, the function of tapetum cells is nutrition, and hence cells of tapetum have dense cytoplasm and more than one nucleus, and hence we are done with the 3 questions of question number 16. So now we will see the next question for today, that is the 17th question, how rDNA is used in the diagnosis of diseases. rDNA is what? The recombinant DNA, right? And what is recombinant DNA? How is the recombinant DNA formed? What is actually recombinant DNA? Okay friends, so now let us understand this, what is recombinant DNA. See, in the recombination, in the genetic engineering, in the genetic molecular engineering, when we talk about, we will see that any organism, if we place the nuclear material, the DNA of another organism for any purpose, okay, say for example, I have an apple, a plant. I have a plant, And no, actually this experiment has happened, so that's why I'm telling you this example. There is a plant and there is a fly which produces light in the night, So what scientists can do, they can take the gene of that fly, they can isolate that gene of that fly which is producing the light, and they can put that gene in the plant. And how will they put that gene? They will take this gene and combine the gene with that of the plant. So the plant gene plus the gene for light of the fly, this will combine, this will be known as a recombinant DNA. It has recombined this plant gene, the host gene has recombined with this required gene, and hence this is known as the recombined gene, the recombinant gene, the recombinant DNA, and that is how the concept of recombinant DNA has originated. Got it? Now you're clear what is recombinant DNA? So we will see that recombinant DNA is used in the diagnosis of many diseases. Okay, all the genetic diseases, the diseases which have a genetic origin, where we can study with the help of the recombinant DNA these diseases. Okay, so let us write those diseases which we are going to discuss now. So genetic diseases. Which are the genetic diseases which can be diagnosed? One can be hemophilia A and B, hemophilia A. Okay, the next one can be hemophilia B. The third one can be cystic fibrosis. This is the third one, this is the fourth one. Okay. Got it? So the genetic diseases, recombinant DNA technology can be used, for diagnosing the genetic diseases, which have a genetic inheritance, which pass over from generation to generation. These can be hemophilia A, these can be hemophilia B, the cystic fibrosis, and the muscular dystrophy. Apart from that, the recombinant DNA technology can also be used for the blood typing. Recombinant DNA technology can also be used for blood typing, can also be used for blood typing. Is there any other use? Yes. The recombinant DNA can also be used, for knowing the prenatal disease, or, for knowing the prenatal status, that is the sex of the fetus. In that case, we can, prenatally, that is even before the child is born, we can see the DNA and we can tell whether the child has any genetic disease, any genetic abnormality, so that, we can discard that because in order to prevent that in order to prevent that disease, right? So we can write this as prenatal disease diagnosis, prenatal disease diagnosis in the fetus. Okay, prenatal disease diagnosis in the fetus. So these are the ways in which the recombinant DNA technology has been used in the diagnosis of the diseases. Let us see the next question now. Expand the term GMO and also explain the fact in what form a GMO differs from a hybrid. Again, this is a question related to genetic engineering, biotechnology. GMO, we all know, is a genetically modified organism. Okay, the term GMO stands for genetically modified organism. Genetically modified organism. So the term GMO stands for genetically modified organism. And what does this mean? What does this mean? Genetically modified organism. The genes or the genotype of the organism has been modified. If I am Dr. Ashmir and I have X, Y, Z, Z gene, which is the original, in my gene X, Y, Z, A has been incorporated. One more gene has come. My genotype has been modified. My original genes have been changed, have been incorporated. A new gene has come in, and that is why we say a genetically modified organism. The organism has been genetically modified. And how does this happen? This happens, for example, say for example, if you want a plant. If you want a plant, say a plant is there, and if you want that, okay, the plant should be pest resistant or disease resistant, what do? You take a gene which will be making the plant pest resistant, disease resistant. You introduce that gene into a plant, say a rice plant into which you are introducing. And the plant will not have the disease now, will not have the disease. You have changed that plant, you have changed the gene of that plant. Why? How come? You have introduced a new gene into the plant for the better functioning, for the good outcome, so that the plant does not produce, catch the disease or is not affected by the pest. And hence, you have genetically modified the organism. Got it? So only when you're writing this, only you should write the term GMO stands for genetically modified organism. Now we will see the second part of the question. Also explain the fact in what form a GMO differs from a hybrid. See, let us talk about the hybrid now. In a hybrid, we are crossing actually two species or strains. We are crossing two species or strains. So the genotype of the hybrid will be having the genotype of both the two species or strains, which are being crossed. Okay, so in hybrid we will write having genotype, okay, having genotype of both species of both species or strains which are being crossed. Got it? So, a hybrid, two species or strains crossed, and when these two species or strains are crossed, they are producing the hybrid. So, the hybrid will have the genotype of both the strains or species which are being crossed. But what is a genetically modified organism? A genetically modified organism will have its own genotype which is slightly differed. And why differed? Because a new DNA or a new gene has been incorporated. There is no cross happening here. There is, in a GMO, that is genetically modified organism, no cross is happening here. No cross is happening. Only a new gene, is being introduced, into the organism here. Got it? So, this is the difference between a hybrid and a GMO. Very simple and very easy. Understand this concept and just write these lines with just the GMO. That will be enough for your answer. Okay? So, friends, note down this, and after you've noted down, we will continue. Okay, friends, so I hope you must have noted down. And now we will continue with the session. Probably 3 or 4 more questions from this section. And then we will continue with the next section. Illustrate the role of IARI and KVIC in agriculture, giving examples. Now, what is IARI? IARI stands for Indian Agriculture Research Institute, right? Indian Agriculture Research Institute. IARI, that is Indian Agriculture Research Institute, has been playing a pioneer role. Okay, pioneer means starting role, has been playing a very important and pioneering role in the development of carrots, vitamin A enriched carrots, again the calcium and iron enriched carrot and spinach, and also the protein enriched peas and beans. Okay, so the IARI, I'll write the answer as IARI stands for what? Indian Agriculture Research Institute. Okay? So, the IARI stands for Indian Agriculture Research Institute, and this IARI, the IARI has been playing a pioneer role, okay, a pioneer role in agriculture, has been playing a pioneer role in agriculture, okay, in the development in the development of what? In the development of iron, iron enriched, iron and this thing, the iron and calcium enriched carrots and spinach, okay, in the development of carrots. Which are vitamin A enriched. Okay. So in the development of carrots which are vitamin A enriched, also this IARI, IARI is helping in the development of carrots and spinach, okay, carrots and spinach which are calcium and iron enriched, which are calcium and iron enriched, and in the development of peas and beans, okay, which are protein enriched, okay, which are protein enriched. Which are protein enriched. So carrots and spinach which are calcium and iron enriched, and peas and beans which are protein enriched. So hence, this Indian Agriculture Research Institute is playing a very, very major role. It is developing carrot, which is vitamin A enriched, carrot and spinach, which is both calcium and iron enriched. It is developing, peas and beans which have a lot of proteins, and hence this will help in the, the nutrition of the people, right? So IARI. Now we will see KVIC. The KVIC is developing what? It is helping in the development of biogas. Okay, the KVIC, it is development. It is helping in the development of biogas. Okay, biogas from the cow dung, helping in the development of biogas from cow dung in collaboration with the Indian Agriculture Research Institute. So the KVIC is actually, it is developing, it is helping in the development of the biogas, okay, from the cow dung in collaboration with the Indian Agriculture Research Institute. Now basically, see, KVIC is a type of the biogas model, okay. It is a type of the biogas model which was developed and which will be having a cylindrical digester. When you read about, the biogas plant, when you read about the different biogas plant, we see that KVIC is also one of the models, okay. KVIC is also a biogas model. So I'll write this here as the KVIC model is a floating drum plant, okay, with a cylindrical digester, cylindrical digester. Right? So floating drum plant with a cylindrical digester, this is a KVIC model. This KVCI model was developed in, in collaboration with Indian Agriculture Research Institute in order to form the cow dung, okay, in order to form the biogas from the cow dung. So this is whole about the IARI and the KVIC in agriculture. Next we move on to the next question. And we will see the diagrammatic illustration of connection between the different trophic levels is given below. Identify the type of ecological pyramid given below and explain what does the base and the apex of this pyramid is indicating. Okay? What is the base? Give examples of such types of ecological pyramid with respect to number and the biomass. Let us read the question again and let us point out what the question exactly wants. Always remember, when you're reading such a question, it is a 3-marker. You have to answer to the point, though I may explain you a little more, but when you're writing, you have to explain, write in a 2 or 3 line answer. That's it. For each subpart I'm telling you. So, the diagrammatic illustration of connection between the different trophic level. Okay, this is giving, the connection between trophic level. We all know the trophic level, right? What are the different trophic level? The first trophic level we talk about is the producer level, the green plants. The second trophic level we talk about is the, the herbivorous animals, that is, which feed on the plants. This is the first trophic level. The second trophic level we talk about is the primary carnivores, which feed on the animals. And the third trophic level, the secondary carnivores we talk about. Okay, so this is the trophic level we know. Then what? Identify the type of ecological pyramid. So we have to identify this type of ecological pyramid. Okay, we have to identify this ecological pyramid given below and explain what does the base and the apex of the pyramid is indicating. So we have to tell what this base and what the apex of the pyramid is indicating. That is the first part of the question. The second part, give examples of such type of ecological pyramid with respect to number and the biomass. That's it. So let us, I've told you what is a trophic level, different trophic levels. See, there is a chain. When the green plants are manufacturing their own food, they are the producers and they form the first trophic level. Now what happens when the animals are feeding on these green plants, they form the what? They form the second trophic level, or they are the herbivorous animals feeding on the plants. Then we have the third trophic level, the first, second, third and so on. Got it? So now what do we see here? That we have to name the ecological pyramid. So let us name the ecological pyramid. This is a spindle-shaped ecological pyramid. Why? Because see, this is in the shape of spindle. This is less. This is this is longer and this is small. So the type of ecological pyramid, it is a spindle-shaped. It is a spindle-shaped ecological pyramid. Right? Then what does the base? So the base is representing over here the producers. The base is representing the producers over here. So I'll write this as the base represents the producers. And what are the producers? The first trophic level. Okay. And what does the apex present? What does the apex present? The apex will present the third trophic level. Okay, the apex is presenting represents the third trophic level. Right? Now we will see the example of such type of ecological pyramids with respect to the number and the biomass. With respect to number, it will be the number of, with respect to number, it will be the number in a tree ecosystem. The pyramid of number in a tree ecosystem, and with respect to biomass, it will be what? It will be the organic biomass in a lake ecosystem. Okay? So, the examples of such ecological pyramids with respect to number, we can say, with respect to number, pyramid of number in a tree ecosystem. In a tree ecosystem. Okay, and the second one, pyramid of biomass in a lake. So, example with respect to number of such a spindle-shaped pyramid is what? Can you see this line over here? Okay, so I think the 9 cannot be seen. So, probably I'll write this here. This can be seen, right? This line can be seen. So, the second one will be pyramid of biomass in a lake. Pyramid of biomass in a lake. Got it? So, the first one is what? Pyramid of number in a tree ecosystem. This is the example with respect to the number, and the pyramid of biomass in a lake with respect to the, with respect to what? With respect to the biomass. And we have already seen this is a spindle-shaped pyramid, this base is representing the producers, that is the first trophic level, the second, and this will be the third trophic level, and we already know what is the third trophic level, that is the primary carnivore. Okay, because these will be the second trophic level, and these are what? The herbivores. What are herbivores? Those animals which will be feeding on plants. Then those animals which will be feeding on these herbivorous animals will be the tertiary, belonging to the primary carnivores or the tertiary trophic level. Got it? So, we are done with this question, and now we will be moving with the next question. Yes. Since the origin of life on Earth and evolution, there have been 5 episodes of mass extinction. But the current rate of extinction is 100 to 1,000 times. Okay? But the current rate of extinction is 100 to 1,000 times. My God. What are the main causes of high extinction rate, and how is it going to harm the human beings. So let us read the question once again. See, whenever you're reading any question, have the habit of reading it twice. First, just get a general idea, and second time, try to concentrate what that question is trying to ask from you, or trying to, what that question actually wants from you. Now the second time when we'll read the question, we will see what it actually wants. First is just an introductory line. It is saying that since the origin of life on Earth and evolution, there have been 5 episodes of mass extinction, but the current rate of extinction is 100 to 1,000 times. What are the main causes? So now it is asking you the main causes of high extinction rate and how is it going to harm the human beings. So what are the causes of extinction and how will it affect the human beings? That is the 2 main modalities this question wants the answer. And again, remember that this is a 3-mark question, so we have to answer to the point. Before I give you the answer, in your NCERT, we know it is written that it is the human activities. It is the human activities which is mainly responsible, for the extinction of species over a period of time. What are those human activities? The evil quartet, which our NCERT talks about, habitat loss and fragmentation. After the habitat loss and fragmentation, we have the co-extinction, the introduction of the alien species, the exotic species, and all these things. These are mainly responsible for why we are having a very fast rate of extinction as of now. Okay? And how will it affect the human beings? We will see, in this, when we are discussing this. So the human activities, what are the main causes of high extinction rate? Human activities are mainly responsible for extinction, are mainly responsible for high extinction rate. Okay, this is main thing. The rate of extinction, the high rate of extinction can be mainly attributed to 4 things. The high rate of extinction, can be mainly attributed, to 4 things called as the evil quartet. Okay, called as the evil quartet. What are these evil quartet? The first one will be the habitat loss and fragmentation. The first one can be written as the habitat loss and fragmentation. Okay, I'll explain you what this means, but let me first frame the answer. The second one is overexploitation. Overexploitation. The third one will be what? Alien species domination or alien species in introduction. Okay, alien species invasion. I've written invitation. Alien species invasion. And the fourth one we can write as what? Co-extinction. Let us now discuss each of them a little in detail, not much in detail. Okay, so this will be how your answer for the first part will be. That human activities are mainly responsible for the high extinction rate of these animals, of the species. The species diversity is is getting reduced and reduced every day. Why? Because it is we are responsible, and so we say that the evil quartet is mainly responsible for this. Under this we have the first one, that is the habitat loss and fragmentation. What is happening in the habitat loss and fragmentation? Habitat is what? Habitat is the natural, residing area, natural living area of the animal, right? Natural living area of the animal. For example, the natural living area of human beings is what? A home, a city, or or a village, a home. A natural habitat of the, animals like lion and tigers will be what? It will be the jungle. It will be the forest. The natural habitat of the aquatic animals will be what? The seawater, the fresh water, the water bodies, right? So we are, by our activities, we are making the loss of habitat. We are cutting down trees, and when the trees are cut down, the forest is getting removed. The dense forests are getting removed. So where will the animals stay now? The animals, those animals which were staying in the, in that, thick jungles, because of the, the cutting of trees, what is happening? Their habitat is getting reduced, and hence over a period of time, those animals which were found there before are getting extinct, and hence the reason of extinction. What is fragmentation? Fragmentation is nothing but, for example, say there is a big a big forest. Now, there is a highway going, and they want to take out a certain part of the road from that forest. So they will cut that part. They will cut that part. They are fragmenting the forest, and that cut part also is is also leading to the loss of habitat. So fragmentation and habitat loss is leading to extinction of the species. Overexploitation. Again, we are cutting down the forest. We are using, the agricultural field for our use. We are, removing the natural things for building, buildings, for building the architectural things, and other, for building factories and companies. We are exploiting it, right? The third one is co-extinction. The alien species invasion. Species from a foreign land is being introduced into the native or the homeland. That species, that foreign species, takes over the other natural species also, because it is dominant. It is being favored by nature, and this also will lead to the extinction of the natural species of the place. The fourth one, co-extinction. For example, if I am a parasite, or say for example, if A is a plant, if B is a cow, or B is an animal, and A is a parasite on the cow or the animal, says for example this B, which is an animal, dies, then the organism, that is A, will also die, because this was a parasite on this. Say for example, we talked about Entamoeba histolytica, which lives in the large intestine. If the organism dies, if the person dies, that organism which was within the intestine taking nutrition from that host will also die. So co-extinction means extinction of both the species which are dependent on each other. And again, what will happen if one species will, get extinct, the species which was dependent on that for nutrition, which was dependent on that for living, will also get extinct, and hence co-extinction will take place. So we see, you have to just write this. I'm just explaining for you to understand. So These were the main sources, causes of high extinction rate, the evil quartet. Okay? Then what is the other part of the question? The other part of the question says that what are the harmful effects? How is it going to harm the human beings? Harmful effects on human beings are what? Harmful effects on human beings will be, the first one will be decline in the plant production. Decline in the plant production. The productivity of the plant will reduce. The second one will be increased vulnerability or decrease in resistant factor to environmental conditions like the drought. Okay, decrease in resistance, decrease in resistant factors to environmental conditions like drought. And third one will be increased vulnerability to certain, to certain ecosystem processes. Increased vulnerability to certain ecosystem processes like water use. This can be seen, right? So what are the three conditions which we see here? The first one which we talk about is a decline in the plant production. A decline in the plant production. Yes, if we are extinct, making the species extinct, if you are cutting down the forest, the main reason of extinction is what? Habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation. We are cutting down forests, we are removing trees, we are removing the natural habitat. So if the forests are coming down, if the trees are coming down, there will be a decline in the plant production. If there is a decline in plant production, it will affect the human beings, my friends. I told you, or I don't know whether you know or not, in my lectures I've already told you that 50% of the medicines which is obtained from the plants. You're talking about other things, you forget about, if you remove the plants completely, 50% of your medicines, boss, comes from the plant. Such an important use. And we are building, busy building homes and furnitures. Decrease in the resistant factors to environmental conditions like drought. Yes, species will decrease, species richness will decrease. Okay, the variability will decrease. There will be more of the monoclonal, more of the pure line condition, more of homozygosity, okay, more of the less of variability. When there is less of variability, then what will happen if a certain disease or a drought affects the gene, different type of gene variations are not there or probably less, and the whole species will come to will stop existing, will die, will be vanished. So decrease in resistant factors to environmental conditions like drought. How will, because there is no variability. And why there is no variability? Because species extinction has been there. Species extinction has led to the decrease in species richness. Last but not the least, increased vulnerability to certain ecosystem processes like water use. Yes, water use. They say, I was reading that in parts of Africa, they have limited, like 6 gallons of water for use for every, household. We are coming to that situation. We are coming to that situation and we are not understanding the root cause. I'm sorry. The root cause is extinction rate, and that because of the habitat loss and fragmentation. Control your desires, control your control your desires, stop cutting down trees and protect the habitat, protect the nature, and believe me, everything will be protected. Okay, I got a little emotional, but let us now move to the next question. So, the next question which I think is the last question of this section, reads as what are single cell proteins? This should be E and not A. What are single cell proteins? Okay, I'm making this correction here. What are single cell proteins? Write the advantages of using these cell proteins. The single cell proteins are microbial biomass. Now we are saying microbial biomass, that means what? These are obtained from either unicellular or multicellular organisms, especially the microorganisms. Okay, so the single cell proteins also called as SCP are what? These are microbial biomass. Okay, these are microbial biomass obtained from unicellular or multicellular microorganisms. Obtained from unicellular or multicellular microorganisms. Okay, so the single cell protein are nothing but microbial biomass obtained from the microorganisms, and these microorganisms are unicellular or multicellular organisms. Now these single cell protein, as the word says, using the word you can see these are basically very rich in protein. They are a very good source of diet, but not fat. They are a rich source of protein and hence can be used as a food or a feed additive. Okay, so these are rich source of protein. These are rich source of protein and can be used as feed additives. Also, these are these can be used throughout the year and a very rich source of vitamin B. Okay, these can be used throughout the year. These can be used throughout the year and obtained from vitamin B and rich in vitamin B, okay, and rich in vitamin B. So these single cell protein, which are a very good source of protein but not the fat, they are obtained from unicellular or multicellular microorganisms, right? They, they can be used, they are as a feed additive, as a additional feed, feeding supplement, because they are a very good source of protein. One thing they do not see for anything like cereals and anything, any food, we have to depend on the crop cycle. Okay, we can obtain this, mangoes are obtained in summer and this is obtained in winter, but the advantage of this is that they can be used throughout the year. They can be obtained throughout the year, and they are also a good source of vitamin B. Right, you remember a single cell protein obtained from spirulina. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this section, and then in the next session we will discuss the next sections of this sample paper.